I'm Noah.
And I'm Ben.
And you're listening to Product Journey. Hey, Ben.
Hey, good morning, man.
Doing good. Are you doing good?
Yeah. Just finished my workday. You're just getting started, I guess.
Yeah, I just got up, and people can now see that I look tired because we're going to do a video, a YouTube video for this. First time.
I forgot.
Yeah.
We just talked about it, and I instantly forgot.
Yeah. So yeah, this will be fun. Now you guys can see what we look like and see us talking, and this will be kind of a fun experiment to see like how this does on YouTube. I maybe we'll have to make a new like Product Journey YouTube channel, and we'll just upload those.
Not a bad idea at all.
Yeah, we'll just upload those there, and we'll see if more people kind of find us because of the YouTube version. Should be fun, and now you guys can see our reactions whenever the other person's talking. You didn't see those before of us being, I don't know, disgusted or whatever.
It's a shame that your infamous sock is not on your mic anymore.
Yeah, people might be upset about that, but I have this nice setup now, and that's partially why we're probably trying videos. I have a new camera, webcam, and then I have my mic just kind of hanging here, and so I don't really need the sock because it's not up in my face and I'm not like spitting on it, so the sock isn't really needed as much.
Well,
yeah, we'll see what happens if there's enough backlash to make me want to put it somewhere. I don't know.
Yeah, I just want it framed on the wall behind you. That would be great.
Yeah. All right, so let's just do, we're going to do the normal updates, and then we're just thinking, we haven't talked much about, actually, we've been working together a lot on Potion. Ben's been helping me, and so we were thinking we were going to talk about how that's been going and working asynchronously together. So we'll talk about that after we go through some updates. Yes. Do you want to go through some updates first? How are the different projects and things going?
Yep. So it's still everything pretty much on hold except for and I have been inviting the first people into the basically sent out the first or let in the first batch of early access users. It was like 20 people that got the email, I think, and out of those I had like 12 sign up. So I don't know what happened with the other ones, but I guess they'll get another invite for when I let the other people in. And yeah, like you were one of them, and you were one of those who discovered a couple of interesting things early on. So I had like this situation where when you don't hit save, but you create a new train of thought and go back, it would not automatically save. And for me, like I've been using it myself all the time. It's super obvious that you want to save and just hit Command S before you go back. But obviously that's not the case for everybody. So yeah, it was like, here's my product and here's reality. And I mean that's probably also what the first batch of early access should be for. So yeah, it kind of did exactly that. Got some good ideas. Had some like 4 or 5 people emailed back with some ideas. And yeah, that's pretty cool to see. And
that is really cool because it's crazy how you only need a couple people to try something out to like get a big like list of like things that need to be made better or changed or updated. And that's like super helpful in the process of like getting your product ready. And at least, it's pretty cool that you were able to get, so many people interested for early access, that you have people that are willing to try it out and stuff. Because, I mean, I remember some projects I've started where it's like you have like your MVP, but like then you can't even get anybody to try it to just even get that first round of feedback. Like that can be pretty hard if like you can't get someone to help you in those really early stages. So that's pretty awesome that you had a lot of people helping, giving feedback and stuff like that.
Yeah, it definitely helps keeping the momentum up. And so now there's basically 230 more people waiting. And
Oh wow.
so what I did over this week, or the last maybe two, was just implementing the first, fixing some of the mission critical stuff like autosave. I added a color coding feature, so you can actually now put some color badges on every card. Move the title of every card above the card, so it's easier to navigate. Yeah, lots of small improvements, stuff that some people suggested, some stuff that I had on my on my little list still. And then I was basically just waiting for the verification from Paddle so the payments could go in. And the way I want to do that, and I actually got confirmation just today that my domain is now good to go. So they, actually kind of funny, they like yesterday or Monday, they actually made me update the landing page because there was like not enough on there for them. So they were like, hey, we kind of don't really see what the product is and we need more info on the page. We have a refund policy you need to put somewhere. I was like, oh god, yeah, let me do that really quick. So I did that over the
it sounds
day.
like Paddle has this whole like review process that I don't think Stripe has.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. They do. And I actually know why they do it so much more in detail than Stripe does. And I think it's because they are the merchant of record, right? So they are the people who are actually invoicing the people. So they are kind of your middleman, right? So they are kind of responsible for what they are selling. And that's why they have to do those checks in more detail. Whereas with
It's like
Paddle,
they're held responsible to the government and stuff because they're handling the taxes part of it and all that.
yeah, exactly. That's why when you would be selling weapons or I don't know, like something illegal, they would be like they would have one foot in the door as well, right? And with Stripe, I think not so much because the whole responsibility is on you, and they're not really the middleman, right? They're just processing the payments for you.
Yeah,
I guess
that
that's
makes
why
sense.
their process is so much more complicated. But I mean, given that the process is so complex, they're actually pretty swift because I think I opened the account like last week, and I chatted with them, just over the last week I think, and got it all set up now. And now what's really left to do for me is to integrate like. I prepared the pricing page and the inside the application the upgrade, downgrade, whatever section. So what I really need to do now is set up the webhooks so that when a subscription is created or canceled, so that gets back to my application basically. And yeah, the plan is to hopefully get that done by tomorrow, which is kind of ambitious, but I still got some hours left to do that, and then make it so that people can actually choose to voluntarily pay for it or not during the early access, which will last for, I don't know, like end of October maybe. Try to gather as much feedback as possible from those 250 people. And if they want to pay for it, if they want to support it early on, that's cool. But they don't really have to. And then after the early access period is over, I basically will send them another email saying, hey, if you want to continue using it, now is the time you really have to pay for it. And I think that's pretty cool because at that point they have seen what they are signing up for basically, and hopefully have seen some improvements roll in. So that's kind of the game plan.
Okay, cool. And then what are you thinking for like how you're going to price it right now?
So I tried looking at different solutions like Roam Research if you're going with the pro plan, or like the personal Notion plan, which is like $9 to $15. And so I just priced it at $9 per month right now. And that's like, it's kind of made up. It's kind of like, what are people willing to pay for something similar in that area? Like research, note-taking products. Yeah. And I mean, there's probably room in both ways. I don't think it would be super smart to go lower on price. It's more like a guess, and let's see how people respond to that, I guess, right now.
Yeah, that sounds like a good plan. Cool. So then, is there things where you like more things you feel like you need to like, other than like setting up the billing and stuff, that you need to be making to the product, or are you just gonna try to keep it as is for now and just start getting feedback?
Yeah, I definitely want to go to sending out the invites real quick. So I will not do anything beyond the payment processor now until I send out the rest of the invites. But I do have a little list of stuff that I want to do, and some more critical things like the reminders and how the different time zones work and whatever that still needs figuring out.
Ooh, that's gonna be
So
fun.
that will probably, yeah, that sounds like a lot of fun, right? Everybody who's ever dealt with this is like, ugh.
Time
But yeah, I got
zones
that
are
on the list
like
for
one of my
next
least
week.
favorites.
Yeah, I hate it, man.
Yeah. Cool. Well, anything else to share, or anything you're feeling? Talk about feelings here.
Oh, what am I feeling? I mean, something else that I'm doing right now, and you know why I'm doing that, is looking for some other freelance gigs. And I have actually lined up another day with one of my existing clients, which is super cool. So I'm just adding another day for them. Because our contract will basically end at the end of this month. And so, yeah, I don't even have to look for another client or whatever to fill that gap right now. So that's kind of cool. Seems to kind of work out.
Yeah, it just seems like you have kind of like a list of people, and whenever you have some free time, there's someone there that's waiting for you.
It's kind of working like that, which is super nice.
Yeah, it's like there's not this like in between where you're like, oh man, I gotta rush to like find another client.
Yeah, there's kind of always work in the pipeline, right? Which is super cool.
Yeah, for sure. Well, sweet.
So what about you?
Yeah, let's see. There's been some fun things going on. I just did this tweet thread talking about how I just reached 3,000 MRR with Potion. So
Sweet.
yeah, pretty stoked about that. There's definitely been like some more growth in the last couple weeks. Really, ever since I did kind of like a little marketing thing about how I'm changing pricing, that like kind of started. It seems like from that point that kind of like started a new kind of like increase in the amount of signups that started happening. And then like even when the prices did go up, they just kind of stayed at that rate, which was cool.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah. Yeah, and so now with my new pricing of $10, $25, and $50, I have one customer that just converted on the $50 plan, but I gave them like a 20% discount, so it's actually like 40. But that's pretty nice to see, because that's quite a bit more than my highest plan that I had before. And then I've started to see a couple of $25 plans, which is the middle plan, come through, and like it's just very nice to actually be paid a little bit more for basically for me, like kind of the same thing, but I think it is that valuable, and obviously people are seeing it that way, which is cool to see. But that's been good. Let's see. Did I talk about when I had like a hacker add tons of accounts to Potion?
Not a ton of accounts. I think we kind of talked about people reaching out about those security issues in the NPM modules, or what it was like super not important issues. Actually, I think we had that, but not somebody creating a ton of accounts. What's that about?
that was something else. Oh, so this was probably a week and a half ago. I all of a sudden, like, probably within a couple minutes, like 20,000 accounts were added to Potion.
Oh my god.
Yeah, and I look at my email list and I'm like, wow, I got an email list like 25,000. This is great. So I guess that's the hack to add people to your email list. The funny thing was, I was trying to figure out like what this was. Like, it was very odd. It was actually like random people's emails, like real people's emails that were being added.
Okay.
So this is what I think happened.
But this was for the newsletter, right? And not for Potion, the application, right?
Well, so they're kind of tied together. So like
I see.
Whenever someone signs up for Potion, I automatically add them to like the Potion newsletter list. So
got it.
They were actual like Potion accounts being added. And I think, so obviously this isn't good. I'm pretty sure what they were trying to do was, I'm guessing it's like a way for people to like test credit cards against Stripe. And so they're just making accounts that then they can test it. Probably, you know, as many accounts as they made, they can test a lot of different credit cards. So yeah, that was interesting. But yeah, like I was saying, it seemed like they were actual real emails. It wasn't like made up emails. It was actually they found some other people's emails and they were using those to sign up, because when I sent out an email to the email list, because the first time I didn't have time to remove all the new the bot emails, and it actually not, you know, there was probably about 2,000 of those that bounced, but then the rest of them actually like were received. So I was very surprised. So I guess a lot of people heard about Potion that never heard of it before. Whoever they were. But yeah, I've cleaned that up now. I was able to remove all those emails from the email list, and then remove the extra accounts that were created on Potion, and then I've added a little layer of security to my sign up flow. So that
sounds like a good idea.
Hopefully this doesn't happen again. We'll see. It was cool. I tweeted about this on Twitter, and people had suggestions for things I could do without having to add like a CAPTCHA, because that would just be a really annoying step to like, hey, part of the sign up flow, here's a CAPTCHA so that you won't ever want to finish onboarding.
Yeah, select all the bridges in those images.
Yeah, fire hydrants. So yeah, hopefully, you know, it's a little security thing that isn't going to be like to the user. There's not an extra step for them. So we'll see if how well that works. We'll see if I have some more emails from the same hacker guy, same bot.
That's probably why you can also just rate limit the sign up, right? Because nobody's going to sign up 5 times in the same minute.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's that could be part of it for sure. So yeah, that was kind of fun trying to figure out that. Those are the kind of things where it's like, this is just annoying. Like, this is just wasting my time. Like, it's not really helping anybody. Well, you know, security is good, but it's like, it doesn't really bring any value to the customer necessarily. So it just feels like you're wasting your time dealing with it.
It's just a part of it, I guess. That's like having passwords that, or like validating the password field, right? Like, so nobody can input like 1 million characters and it just fries your database or whatever.
Yeah, right. Let's see. So another thing that's happened is I had someone reach out to me on Twitter that wanted to kind of help with some like growth testing kind of stuff. And his name's Gonzalo, so shout out to him. And it was pretty cool because he's like head of growth at this other SaaS. And basically he's saying he liked what I was working on, and he just wanted, like, for free, at least for now, he wants to just like help test some different kind of workflows and test like the Potion landing site, and see, like, basically look through the metrics and see where there's like some places that I can make it better. And so he's kind of helping me with that. So that's been pretty cool, because he's made some like funnels based on like events and stuff on the site and the dashboard, and he's then kind of been pointing out to me like, hey, I think this is maybe a part that could be updated, and it's like one of the first things we're going to do is we're going to do a test on the landing page, an A/B test for adding a video. So I'm gonna add like a 2-minute video that's kind of showing off Potion, and then we're gonna see like if the number of signups increases a little bit from there. It's kind of cool. To some degree, like, I'm glad he's helped me, and I guess it's really cool just to see someone that, like, this is his job, like he does this at his job. So it's kind of cool to see how, I guess, an expert or someone experienced does this. I was thinking, in some ways, like, I still have to be very careful that, like, I have my priorities straight. And I think some of these things could possibly not be highest priority. It's like, it's like trying to optimize some piece of the funnel that's like, well, if you optimize that and make it better 1 or 2%, like that still isn't a really big impact with, you know, maybe the number of people coming through there. So it's like you still want to focus on the better, the higher priority things on Potion, which you know could be marketing, it could be product stuff. So yeah, I'm still keeping that in sight. But yeah, so yeah, it's kind of cool. Should be fun to kind of make some of these things better. And some of the stuff like updates to the landing page were kind of things on my mind that like I needed to do soon anyways. So it will be good to kind of help me do that, and also make sure I'm doing it in a good way that works well. So
yeah, so that's good. And it sounds like the worst thing that could happen is you may be early to optimize some of the funnel, but you might learn stuff. So you know.
Yeah, and it's like, I guess at the, you know, if you've optimized your funnel, and it's really good, then it's like you can feel really good about putting the gas on the fire and like bringing in a ton of new people and not like losing them. And so any efforts I make later, it will hopefully be very, you know, worth it. So that's good. He's had some good ideas about basically trying to get users to see the value of Potion like as quickly and easily as possible, like without them having to sign up, without them having to put in their credit card. So obviously like the best way of doing this is just having like a free tier, a free plan where there's no credit card, there's anything like that, which I think, you know, could make a lot of sense at some point. So, I mean, it's very much on my radar. I just want to make sure that if I did like a free plan, that the product's kind of like to a really good stage where I know it's really good. I know people really like it. And, you know, I know it's to a place where the amount of support that I have is kind of less just because I've optimized some of the issues that I've seen through support in the past. And then this, like the other thing is I just want to make sure my infrastructure is ready to add a ton of sites without having to have issues with that, because there'll be a lot more sites if I had a free tier.
Yeah, that's true.
So yeah, that like that's maybe something in the future, something that he was, you know, definitely saying he thinks would be really helpful. But he had another idea I thought was good that I might try to figure out how I could do, is basically having kind of like a sandbox kind of Potion site builder kind of thing, where maybe everyone's just on the same one, like they're on the, well, so there's two ways I could do it. There could be everybody that visits and goes to the sandbox could edit the same like Notion page, and then they could see like what it would look like as a Potion site, kind of live, and see the updating and stuff. And then maybe I'd have to just like refresh that Notion site every day or something. I don't know. People could add, if people are using the same one, people could add bad things to it just to get attention. But that would be a simpler thing than like, you know, having to make an individual one for everybody. I don't know. It depends how much of like really showing Potion that I want to do. Like, do I want it to actually be a real site that they're playing around with that's being generated, or do I kind of like make it look like it is, like almost more like the live editor in the Potion dashboard, where maybe they're just putting their own unique Notion URL, and then it's just kind of showing them a live view of what it kind of looks like, but it's not really a Potion website. It's just kind of a preview. I don't know, but that would be easier if I did it that way, I guess. So yeah, I don't know how much, if that's really worth it to go that route or not. But yeah, kind of thinking through some ideas with that.
I definitely think it's a cool idea to show the value really really early on, right? Like before people sign up. I'm actually thinking through the same thing for right now, because it might be, you know, it would be super cool to try like the horizontal, you know, ordering and moving through such a train of thought before you have to pay for it, right? Or before you have to put in your credit card or whatever. Because I think if the product is like, if it's in a good shape and, you know, like nothing's breaking and people see the value and can use it and, you know, feel like it's cool, like it's a good workflow, like it's good to use, then it could be super cool to just have that kind of like a live demo, and then whenever they want to save or whatever, that could then trigger like, hey, if you want to save this, just enter your credit card and you can actually save what you just did here right away. That would be really cool, and I mean that would be the ideal scenario, right? Whereas I also think having a video, just showing that, which is probably step one right now, right? Like on the landing page, that thing is also like I think that's also pretty cool because you kind of see what you're signing up for. It's not like the same thing because you're not like clicking yourself, not the same experience. But it's definitely like 50% of that. It's definitely good direction.
Yeah, in some ways it's like it's easier for the user too. Like they can hopefully see the value, but they don't actually have to do anything themselves, which might be, kind of nice for them too. Like they can just kind of sit back, relax, eat some popcorn while they watch this video.
Yep.
But yeah, so anyways, trying to think through some of that a little bit. That's pretty much it for all my updates and stuff. Now you want to talk about how it's been working together?
Yeah, let's do that.
I was just thinking, so I have a little story. This was like 5 years ago, back when I was working on Coffee Pass. We won some, I guess, some contest that gave us free office space for like the summer or something like that. So we had this free workspace, me and my buddy, coworker or co-founder who were working on Coffee Pass. And then we hired 2 interns and we worked out of this office space. And it was just making me think of like, that was kind of my only other experience, like working with people. And I just thought it was funny because in some ways it's like, I kind of feel like we were just like playing startup, if you know what I mean? Like, because our startup at that time didn't really make any money, but like we had 2 interns, and so we had employees, and we had like this office space. So you kind of feel like you have a real business, and you're like, oh, this is great. Like we're really doing stuff, and but like now when I look back at it, I'm like, we were kind of just playing startup. Like we nothing really was coming out of that, but we felt like we were doing stuff. Like we felt like, I mean, obviously that's how it is when you start a startup, I guess. Like there's a lot of work that can happen before, you have any revenue or whatever. But the other thing I learned from that experience is that having a couple like I'm sure some people can make it work, like having a couple of interns and having a system that makes it worth it and they can like do some good work. But I think for me and what I've experienced, like I feel like having a more advanced senior developer working on it is better than having, some interns. You could probably pay 3 interns to do the same cost to do as one senior developer, but I think the one senior developer would get more accomplished than those 3 interns, and in the process it would save you as like helping product managing it and stuff. It would save you a lot of time as well, because that summer when we had those interns, I don't think I got a ton done. Actually, I was mostly just helping the interns like learn how to code. So, anyways, that being said, I think this route that we took, where I'm working with you, you have a ton of experience. Like I think way better than working with interns that didn't know what they were doing.
It's funny you say that because that's most of the people that I work with right now are also bootstrapped. Like they also bootstrapped a SaaS, right? And they kind of echo what you just said. They basically the chorus is like, hey, we could probably find 1 or 2 people who would do that for half your price, but we kind of want to do that because you're doing a great job and we know what we're getting and the quality is good, and let's just keep doing that. For sure. I can totally see that too, actually, because if I imagine outsourcing the code part, I don't know, like it's super critical. You want that to be good, right?
Right, like you don't want to get code back that like you're just going to have to refactor and redo later just because it's going to be hard to maintain it and it's going to be hard to add features around it. Like that's a bad situation.
And me being on the freelance side, I actually always tell my clients like, hey, like look over the code. If there's anything you would do differently, just let me know, right? So I could I can accommodate to that style of coding. I can, do it differently if you just let me know. I probably have done it that way, but it's not how I would usually do it, so that's not why I'm doing it that way right now. But like if I know, probably easy to do that.
Yeah, so it was great. So kind of how we set it up was I made some like tasks in Notion and just kind of had some descriptions there, and then I also made like some guides to kind of my idea was try to help get you started with like some guides, some like docs, a couple of videos that kind of explain some parts of the code base that you'd be working in so that you could get up to speed as quickly as possible. And then we were just using Twist, and we're kind of messaging back and forth in there asynchronously for the feature. And yeah, like once you kind of got started and I kind of had that stuff in place, it was kind of like you're on your own. And for me, like it was pretty great because I didn't have to really do a ton. Like every week I would kind of check on what you were working on and give some feedback here and there if there needed to be, or you'd have some questions every once in a while. But like it's pretty hands off for me, which is great. So then I can focus on the other things.
And I'm one of those people who likes to take ownership of a feature or whatever you give me, basically, right? So I kind of enjoy like this hands-off approach from the people who employ me in a way, because that means I can just do my thing, right? And I can move from the backend repo to the front end, do all the stuff that just needs to be glued together in a way without, always, I don't know, like asking for permission, or I don't know, like, that's definitely a cool way of working, I would say. And those videos that you made in the beginning, they were super helpful. You could actually probably like have videos prepared for next time where you just go through, like database architecture, like what's the Notion core plugin like, what's the functionality, like how do you extend stuff there? Because that's definitely stuff people will run into like I did. And, just having like an overview of that, even if it's just like 5 or 10 minutes of you talking through the code, is super helpful.
Yeah, that's good to hear. Cause it seemed like you got up and running pretty quickly, like the first day, which, Ben was just working like 6 hours a week, like 1 day a week. And that first day, like you pushed a decent amount of code, and I was impressed. So that was good. You got up and going quick.
Thanks. I mean, for me, I don't know. It was for me one of those situations. I've said that a million times, but for me it was super skewed in time because I had the feeling like 2 or 3 weeks in, and I got stuck like fiddling with this Notion core library that transformed like the Notion pages into a map, or I don't even know, like and I needed to extend that with titles, and oh my god, I had never seen that stuff, and I was like, oh my god, I'm lost. And so for me, like week 3 maybe felt like I was super stuck and kind of like I was not moving fast, right? But if you take a step back and look at the overall time frame at that point, it was basically like day 2, right? Like if you you realize that I've only been working like 6 hours per week on that, it's like day 2 or 3, and obviously I don't know like everything about all the repos that go into that thing right now at that point. So yeah, it's always hard for myself to remind me that hey, it's like like hour 18, and you're obviously not super knowledgeable with every part of that application right now. So yeah. Kind of mixed there for me. Yeah,
and the part you were talking about is a pretty complex part. Like I still don't feel like I completely understand it sometimes, because it's like basically it's going through and creating a map of all the pages in like a Notion workspace from like a root page, and like that's pretty complex. I think how it does it is like it's asynchronously like adding these pages onto a queue to get them, and then like trying to get them in the right order, and like it's that part is a little bit probably the main complexity of Potion probably is like creating that map of data that everything is based off of. So yeah, definitely makes sense that it would take a little bit of time to like figure out what was going on there. Because I still have to do that too.
Like from a technical perspective, it's actually funny because I was super naive. I thought you could just go there and like I don't know, like you put in like the root URL or whatever of the Notion site, and then from there you could just like get all the pages, right? But that's not how it works, right? You could have like one of those blocks inside the Notion document obviously could be a link to another page, which is not like a direct child of the root page or whatever. So you have to iterate through all the blocks. It makes sense. But in my head, I was like, yeah, that's probably super simple to do, right? Like Notion will have some kind of API or some way of grabbing that. But so far they didn't. I don't know if the new API actually adds that, but yeah, it makes sense that it's super complicated to grab that from nothing.
Yeah. So the Notion API should make some of that a little easier, hopefully. But I think their API is really like per page, so I think there will still be some kind of workarounds to have to do to like basically configure, like create this whole map of the entire workspace, like Potion kind of has to. So that will still kind of be a thing that I think we'll have to do. Hopefully, so that is something I'm hoping to do eventually, is like switch over to the official Notion API, and I'm hoping that it will really just be changing a couple of those endpoints that I have, and then hopefully everything else just works. But we'll see. It probably won't be that. It'll probably be harder to kind of change everything over. Let's see. Anything else about just the working asynchronously? It was also kind of funny because the time zone change. Like usually I'd be going to bed and then like you just be getting up to start working, like starting your work day. And I think there was a couple of times where I would just like stay up later just to make sure if there was any questions that you had. But yeah, that was kind of funny that just the time zone changes. But at the same time, like it wasn't a problem. Like, it worked out pretty well where it's like we can, even if I'm not awake, I'm sleeping, dreaming, you can be working away on stuff. And there's enough things to work on that, like, if you did happen to get to like a roadblock, there were still things you could do, which is good.
Yeah, exactly. And that's actually something I try to always kind of plan into my day, right? So that I always have, like, if I have something that might block, I try to have like at least a backlog of, I don't know, like 3 minor things to do so that I can actually like get something done, right? And then, ask you the question and then you can get back to me whenever you're awake. But I don't waste like the entire day with just waiting around, or I don't know, that would be stupid, right? So it's kind of smart, like if you're in the contractor's position, to always like have a little bit of, small stuff to do in case you get super stuck and you kind of need somebody to help you out there.
Yeah, for sure.
On the other hand, I think it was like last week, right, where you were actually up late, and we had that call like in the middle of my day, so it must have been like nighttime for you, right?
Yeah, it was like 1 a.m. for me.
And we kind of ended up talking for like an hour because we were just jamming on how this could look in the future. And I actually think that was super helpful, right? Like if you think about it, you're hiring me for just coding. But then, I don't know if you see it the same way, but it felt like it was kind of cool to have somebody to jam on where this could go feature-wise, like how it could look, because that was not super clear before, it felt.
Yeah, for sure. And I think, that's one of the things that like I want you to have the freedom to do, basically, is like, you're good at designing and like feature development stuff too. So it's like I want you to take part in that, and even if you do take part of that, even more so, that allows me to kind of just let you do your thing and you can make decisions, and I'm at least giving some guidance and like, okay, I think these are the things that like customers want, and then you can kind of take that and run with it and like basically design how it's going to look, add the features and stuff, and that's like, I think that's going back to like a senior developer, also like someone that can do like some of the designing stuff. Like it allows me and allows the founder or whatever to kind of be hands off and just trust, like, okay, I know you're good at that stuff. You just take care of that. And it also hopefully makes it easier. And so yeah, that was good because now like I feel like we in that meeting we figured out a pretty good idea of like what things should look like and what it will be, and so now you can just kind of run with it. And
Yep.
so yeah, that
Yeah,
was good.
exactly. That's super productive, actually.
So I want to be a little bit vulnerable here, just because now you've seen most of the potion code. You know how the behind the scenes looks. So I'm just curious, like, what do you think is how, like, do you think the potion code is good, like, or is it's terrible? Like, what do you think about the code I've written thus far?
Oh, that is that also involves me being vulnerable a little bit because I'm the idiot who didn't understand how to piece the repos together, basically, right?
Well, see, that might be my own. That might be part of the problem, like that could.
No,
be
I actually think that was more on me, to be honest, because I came into the project thinking that it would be just the one repo, maybe two, right? Because I knew it was like Next.js, React, so I thought you had like an API route, like folder, like you do in Next.js, right? And just had it all in there. And now seeing that you have it separate, I understand why you did that. It makes sense. But you know that there is this one thing that kind of needs to change over time now, which is having code in multiple places, right? And that's like the only thing where I'm like, okay, that's like what I would have tried to avoid. I guess why you did it, because moving fast means copying it over is just quicker, right? And you would have to turn a substantial part of the underlying. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, so I did try to make a single repo, like a single library that had all of that Notion kind of generating site code. And I think I spent like a week trying to get that to work. So basically that was why, like, I from the very get-go when I was starting that stuff, I tried to make that into a library and I couldn't get the build for the NPM to work, and there's all these issues, and basically it just was taking too long. I was like, all right, I'm just gonna kick this down the road. I'll fix this later. For now, I'll just kind of have a couple of duplicate areas. So that's kind of how that happened.
Yeah, and I totally get that. And from looking at it from a founder's perspective, totally right decision. Makes a lot of sense. I would have done the same thing. Looking at it now from just being the developer, right? I'm like, that's,
right.
That's not ideal. And you totally know that, right? You knew that. You told me actually before I dove in, right? And I think that's like the only like tech debt that I would try to pay off in the future. So you kind of try having another go at, unifying that into some kind of library, however that looks, and then just makes it easier if you, just like me right now, like having to add those, that sitemap stuff. I basically go through 2 or 3 different repos to do that. Could be in just 2 places, right? Like the front end and then just one back end part. But yeah, maybe it's also on me because I underestimated the architecture. But at the same time, it was not, and that's pretty cool actually. It was not super complicated to understand why you separated it and what the different parts do, how they work together, right? Because you had a lot of good stuff in place. You had this SWR fetching and all that stuff from your backend in place. I could literally just copy paste, create my own endpoint, take data from there. You had the stores in place, like the Zustand.js, the store stuff for Next.js, which I'm used to using, so I kind of knew what I was doing there.
Oh, perfect.
So yeah, it was kind of easy for me to hit the ground running in that area. And really, where it was kind of hard to, I kind of mentioned that before, but what was really hard to figure out was just the Notion X library stuff. But that's like kind of obvious, right? Because it's super niche. Like it's not something you would know unless you're trying to parse Notion docs into JavaScript.
Yeah, like you really have to know Notion, I guess, and then like to be able to see it and be like, oh yeah, this is this block, this is that block, and this data makes sense because I know that Notion block has this content, and so that data must be for that. I mean that took me a while to figure out that as well. But right, yeah, that having those like that Notion X libraries does make it a little bit. It does make you feel like your code is in different places because that library does handle a lot of that data parsing and manipulation stuff. And since I'm kind of now the main maintainer of that, I definitely feel like I know all that code too, but then it's all separate from my own Potion code. So it does kind of feel like there's stuff in a lot of places. But yeah, that's kind of how that has to be, I guess, for that layer. At least to some degree, like I guess that's good to kind of have like things kind of moduled out into different layers. It's just getting those layers having nice lines in between them. Is where I probably could do a little more work, especially with that library of duplication that needs to be stuff.
But I mean, really, the hardest part for me so far was really just dealing with the Notion X library, because I had no idea what it is, how it works, like how the Notion blocks get parsed. Then there was TypeScript, right? Like I'm not super used to TypeScript at all, and the Notion X library, they actually introduced a bunch of their own types, right? And I was like, oh my god, like what the heck is that? I actually had to look all the types up and. In that types file, I was like, oh god, what do I have to put in there? Like, how do I even make that work here?
So I converted you to TypeScript?
Not at all. Not at all.
Oh man. Okay, but here's the thing. This is what I don't get all the time. Like why people don't like TypeScript. Because to me, all it is it's more defining what this data is going to look like. And it's kind of like a helpful doc that kind of shows you this is what the types are going to be, where even if this was all in JavaScript, you'd still have all those data types that you'd have to know about, but there would be nowhere that shows you what they are. You just have this like blob of data that you're like, I don't know what this blob of data is. And there'd be no way to really figure that out other than like somehow like testing and debugging the code to see like, oh, what's this JSON blob I'm getting here? Where with TypeScript, it's like, oh, you can just look and it tells you, oh, this is what you should expect. This is what this is. Yep. And I don't know. I feel like that makes it easier.
I totally get that. And so what I really like about TypeScript is the auto completion, right? Like if you're in VS Code and you're opening the function or whatever, it just tells you what it expects, right? You kind of know hey, this should be an array, this should be a string, this needs to be an integer, and you can't do anything else with it. So that's great. I wish it did that for all my code. But then where it gets a little more annoying for me is when I want to extend that or change that, right? So now all of a sudden this shouldn't be an array, but it's an object, and it's kind of expecting this to be super typed to an array and not an object, even though I could iterate over both, right, with my regular JS. And then what I have to do then is actually go to the types definition and either break that up and either have a new type for it or make it more permissive or whatever, right? So that's where I see a little overhead if you're constantly or more often breaking the rules, kind of, which which I actually had to do in that Notion library, right?
Fun.
Yep.
Well,
no, but I don't hate it.
Good. And I think maybe the more you use it, the more you'll learn to love it.
Yeah. So for me, the most interesting part right now is actually I have another project in Vue.js and a Laravel backend. So with Vue, it's Next.js plus TypeScript, and for my own stuff, it's just Next.js and plain JavaScript, right? Super confusing.
Yeah, to jump back and forth. That's not always the best. That's what I kind of do with my day job too, because I write in Swift for iOS. I'll find myself like writing JavaScript and like Swift files and vice versa. I'm like, wait, where am I? What am I doing?
Yep, I know that feeling.
Yeah. All right. Well, this has been fun. We should probably end this here. And thanks for all the work you've done on Potion. That's been really cool to kind of move things forward.
Yeah,
and I'm really excited to put those new features out into the world and let everyone see them.
Yeah, I'm excited, man.
All right. Well, talk to you later.
Later.
Bye.